Xbox, Xbox. Man, we need to talk. I love when I'm able to talk positive stuff, and we about to talk a lot of positive stuff. You guys, throughout the years, I've had my nitpicks when it comes to Xbox showcases, but for the most part, I generally enjoyed them. I didn't really have no issues with any of the Xbox showcase for the most part. But I reacted to this one, so you can go check that on the Iron Lords podcast channel. But oh my gosh, guys, the amount of right things they did in this showcase is crazy. Xbox and Microsoft hit it out of the park almost on every line, except for one of my biggest nitpicks. But that's what we're going to talk about today. What's going on, you guys? Gaming out here coming to another video. Today we'll be talking about the Xbox Showcase 2024. It's been a crazy week. And, I'm probably going to make another video today because of the whole Phil Spencer interview. But we ain't going to talk too much about that. Let's go into the announcements that was at this show. And then I'll go over, my nitpicks on some of the announcements. But let's go over it. They opened up with Black Ops 6. Now, I don't know if I would technically consider this opening up with Black Ops 6 because they kind of went live a little early and they showed Black Ops 6 like a teaser trailer to kind of get people hyped to watch the direct afterwards. So I don't know if I would consider this an opening or not. I would consider Doom the Dark Ages. That's the game I personally feel like they opened with. They put a lot of emphasis behind this game. Now tell me what you guys think they opened with. I know, I wouldn't argue with anyone that felt like they opened up with Call of Duty, but that's just not my opinion, personally. Doom the Dark Ages. I'm not the biggest fan of Doom. I played Doom 2018, and I played Doom Eternal, and I think both of them are solid games. Solid franchise. I think, it definitely took that game to the next level, took that IP to the next level. And the Dark Ages is essentially like a prequel to some degree. It's how Doom Guy got as powerful he is, or he got the fame that he has. Not necessarily 100% knowledgeable in terms of that, but like it was rumored, because this game was rumored to be announced at the show, it is a multi-plat. Not only it's a multi-plat, PlayStation was the quick with that Twitter post saying that game's on they stuff only, which is interesting. Besides that, in Call of Duty, PlayStation didn't try to grab any of these other games. So I think right now, besides Doom and Call of Duty, you can say that all these games are exclusive to PlayStation. I mean Xbox. Then you had State of Decay 3. Now this is where I will go a little bit and have some nitpicks. State of Decay 3 showed well what they showed, and I think that it showed some snippets of gameplay to in-game engine, moving around. I think that's the best case scenario. Now, I do wish we could have seen a little bit more of, maybe during the daytime. Most of this was at night for the looks of it. They showed shooting some of the zombies. They showed how well the zombies look. Graphics on this game were pretty solid. It's nothing what I expected, what's nothing what people would expect. I feel like this is what I would expect. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people that have like similar, unrealistic expectations of what they felt State of Decay 3 would look like. I've never seen State of Decay 3 as like this big title. I've seen State of Decay as like a really good AA title that I hope they implement a lot more story into State of Decay 3. And I think it's going to be interesting what we see on that. There was no year release date on this game, so it makes me think that's probably a 2026 game because for the most part, they felt like it was coming out in 2025. They had no problem putting the year 2025 after these trailers. Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It's a year. This game's coming out this year, which is interesting. We didn't see a whole lot in terms of gameplay. I have been told that the gameplay is going to be shown at a later date, so that's going to be interesting. It's kind of cool that Microsoft is working with EA and got the marketing rights, because that's what I see here. This is being shown on their stage. I assume they got the marketing rights to Dragon Age. This is one of the key games that made Xbox what they are. Remember the Dragon Ages, the Mass Effects. These games really captivate to an Xbox audience, and I'm glad that Microsoft took that back home. Starfield: The Shattered Space. Now, this game actually shadow dropped a couple things today. They shadow dropped the I think it was like called Space Gym or something like that. I can't remember. It's essentially, some updates on the core game. They dropped the creator engine where they can do mods on this game. So I assume we're going to start seeing some crazy mods. Now, I didn't necessarily catch if these were coming to console in terms of the mod support. I would assume that's what it looked like, but I didn't really do any research into that matter when it comes to that particular game. Look, I enjoy mods and I think they're very good for a game's health, but not really the modding type of person. I don't mod too many games. But this is going to be interesting. They showed a lot of, live service games. Fallout 76 was there. Sea of Thieves was there. I think Elder Scrolls was there as well. Now, I'm not saying that this is like a negative on the show, but me personally, Microsoft has so many games as a service now that I do feel like they need to wrap all those up into one smaller showcase, maybe on a Tuesday, or just, if they do a preview extended version like they've done in past years, maybe put that portion of it into the new show and maybe shorten it up a little bit. I'm not saying that these Fallout 76, these MMOs don't have a fan base. They have a massive fan base between them all. It's just me particularly, after you see the same couple games at every showcase because they have like the new season coming out, I feel like it's better just to give them their own showcase for that matter. Now, this is my personal game when it comes to games that impressed me. And what game was that? South of Midnight. South of Midnight, I always looked at that and I thought it was going to be like a very, very cartoony looking game. But when I saw the way that the world interacts, the way the world's vibrant, I was really drawn to this game. I think South of Midnight was the show stiller to me, and that's just my personal opinion. What I saw of this, I was blown away. The entire thing, the way that the crocodile shifts in the back and forth, the way that she moves up, the way she interacts with certain things in the field, like flying through the air and stuff. I really, really enjoyed that. I think it looks good. Claire Obsidian Expectation 33. Probably butchered that whole name. That's fine. This one was interesting. This is a turn-based, but it looks like a very modern take on turn-based. I'm thinking more like Lost Odyssey. If you guys want to look at gameplay on Lost Odyssey. Now, obviously, Lost Odyssey isn't nearly as in-depth as this game, but I would say that there's a lot of inspiration to me off of Lost Odyssey when it comes to like real quick time events. Obviously, Lost Odyssey isn't the first game to do that, but I would say in this particular case, when I'm looking at this game, I see a lot of the stuff that Lost Odyssey would do, and it looks fantastic. It looks amazing. Next we have is Perfect Dart. Now look, when Perfect Dart first showed up, they had like an overshot of the plane that was flying, and I even made fun of saying that I thought this was Flight Simulator, which ended up being in the showcase later on in the showcase. But when she showed up in like the suit and the door open, I knew it wasn't Flight Simulator at that point because they don't normally highlight people in the Flight Simulator to that degree. And I really impressed by what I saw in Perfect Dark. Now, I am still a little disappointed that this wasn't a third person. Now, it's not necessarily because I don't like first person. I love first person games, especially if they're done well and they're very immersive. And this game, for the most part, looked extremely immersive as a first person. It's just I felt like Microsoft's lacking some third person, besides like Hellblade, Gears of War, and I felt like Perfect Dark being third person, where you're kind of a special agent, made more sense to what the industry kind of vibes with. But what I saw looked really good. I think the initiative and Crystal Dynamic is really doing well when it comes to that. Now, there's something that was here. I'm really only sticking to Xbox titles. Now, obviously, I recommend all of you guys go and check out the entire show because it was a phenomenal show. But Fable was here. Now, if you remember my predictions, I said Fable wasn't going to be here. And the reason I didn't think that is because it was a 2025 game, what I was told. And I felt like the perfect time to show 2025 games that you've already announced was to have them come out next year during the Direct at the beginning of the year. But Fable was here. They had pretty much showing the perspective and telling the story of what they try to trick you into being the main character for a while. But it's pretty much what it is a retired hero's talking about a quote-unquote person, and you're thinking he's talking about you the whole time, but the way I got out at the very end, there's another individual that you didn't see their face come in, and they like jammed down a staff. I think that's the person that he was referring to, and they kind of did like a little okie dokie trick you into thinking that they were talking about that, which is interesting. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was there. Now, I felt like they spent a little too long on the cutscene on this game. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I know a lot of people are really excited about Indiana Jones, and I'm sure that game it wasn't cheap when it comes to IPs. Licensing IPs are not cheap. So I can understand them showing a lot, but I felt like in terms of the cinematics, they showed too much of that. They should have shown a little bit more of a gameplay, or maybe less of everything, and just put a release date on here. Unfortunately, there was no release date to this game, and this is the first time where I really have an issue, because we just seen it at the Direct, and I'm going to get into Avowed later. It's kind of the same thing. If I'm seeing you at last year's E3 and then a Direct at the beginning of the year, if I see you again, I expect a release date. And the fact that I didn't get a release date, I understand people say there's plenty of chances that they can have to announce the release date, but to me, this was the perfect time to do that. Now, I don't know why it wasn't there, but at the end of the day, I guess it's none of my business, really. The interesting thing is when Microsoft Flight Simulator showed up, they're adding a lot of new little nuances to that. I'm not really a big Flight Simulator person, but I can understand the appeal to that. It was definitely a pretty game. They were having a lot of like solo thing that you do as a flight, a pilot, where either you're being a firefighter up in the sky. I don't even know. You guys get what I'm saying. It was an interesting thing, say the least. Stalker 2 was here, and it's got a release date. It's going to be interesting to see how the Xbox community handles Stalker 2. I feel like not necessarily the game isn't being advertised to what it is, but I feel like they're not being very clear on what you do in the game. Maybe that's just me. When I look at this game, I see it looks like a story-oriented game, and I don't think it's necessarily the studio doing this, but I do feel like they should be a little bit more in setting expectations to what type of game this is. And that's nothing bad. I think it actually looked very good. Avowed. Once again, like I said, we've seen this multiple times by now. This was at the Direct this year. This was at last year's E3. This should have had a release date. I would actually prefer this to be in some kind of maybe Jeff Keighley show or a extended show. I don't think they're doing that this year. We haven't heard nothing about that. But it was a little disappointing to not see no release date. I just want the games that I feel I'm going to be playing in the next couple months to have a solid release date. Now, obviously, maybe they don't do that as much these days because they don't want to have to delay any of these games. But it is interesting that it wasn't there, to say the least. Now, this one caught me off guard a little bit. I always felt like they were going to continue the Gears of War franchise in the direction of Kate, JD, but it does look like they're taking a little bit of a different approach. Now, I don't know if this means that they're not working on Gears 6, but they announced Gears of War E-Day. And Gears of War E-Day is pretty much a prequel to that matter. It has JD, not JD. It's got Marcus and the main characters from the first one. I didn't play a whole lot of the first one, but it's got those main characters. Put in the comment section below if you guys know Marcus and Quam or Mark, or I don't know, but you guys know what I'm saying. Put that in the comment section below. It's very interesting, man. I'm very curious to see how this does. A lot of the Gears franchise, especially the community behind the Gears of War franchise. I'm not the biggest fan of the Gears of War. I really enjoyed 5 and the single player. I'm not really a multiplayer person in this, but they live and breathe by the old trilogy, and this seems to be more in line with that in the tone. It had more of a dark shading type of art style, so I'm very interested to see exactly what they do on this. This showcase was amazing. That was the last one, by the way, in case you guys didn't know that. Microsoft really hit it out of the park. Now, obviously, when it comes to how they're handling some of the business stuff behind the scenes with games coming to multiplat, I'm really hoping with this IGN thing that's going on with Phil Spencer and Ryan McCaffrey, that's probably going to go live in about 25-30 minutes. I want him to be very clear on what he means by what's going and what's not going. I think this is the time for messaging to be 100% there, Xbox. You want to make sure that these people know exactly what you're doing, so you're not caught off guard 6-7 months in the future. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Be honest what's going on. Keep your customers and your gamers, the people that love the brand, been supporting the brand, people that got you where you are now. I understand that you're trying to open up the horizons, make more money on other platforms, but I do think you owe it to your fan base just to be transparent on where the future of the brand and the ecosystem in general rely on. But anyway, that was the showcase, guys. It was an amazing showcase, 9 out of 10. Almost every game there I was interested in some way, shape, or form. And the games I wasn't interested in, I understood why they were there. But put in the comment section below what you guys feel about this showcase. What was the highlight to you guys. Very curious to hear that. I'm going to be reading that. And definitely hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this content. We make videos here pretty much weekly. It's going to be interesting to see the next couple months of Xbox. I'm very curious to see when these games come out, especially Avowed and Indiana Jones. But without any further ado, you guys have a great day, phenomenal week, phenomenal day for Xbox. And until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. That was a good show, Xbox. Bravo. Bravo.